Okay, today I'm going to talk about the process of writing. It's easier than you think. First thing you want to do is assess the writing situation. Another way to put this is you want to think about what you're going to do. I guess I'm a big advocate of thinking, spending some time just thinking about what you're going to do, not jumping right in. So the first thing you want to think about is what are you writing about really? So really, what is your paper about? The next thing you want to think about is who is your audience? Who will read your work? What do they know? If you're writing in technical writing or something like that, or you're writing an email at work, this is very important. You don't write the same kind of email to your peers that you would to corporate people who are sitting in California, for example. Relative to this class, of course, your audience, generally speaking, is the teacher. But when you expand your writing out into the workplace, you have to think about your audience a great deal. And the last thing, and this goes to both of these things, both what you're writing about and your audience, is what is your purpose? Is it reflection? Is it to explain? Is it to persuade? Is it to entertain? You really want to think about what you want to write about, who is going to be reading it, and then why are you doing it? So people talk about ideas. I can't think of things, and there are a lot of ways to generate ideas. Some of the obvious ones are ones that you may have heard, and these are that come out of the book. You could keep a journal. Some people advocate for free writing. Personally, just simply paying attention to what's around me and making connections uh, is the way that I generate ideas. Many of my best ideas, at least best ideas in my mind, come from connecting daily life to class time. And in my own writing, the same thing. I'll think of things, maybe I'll jot a note down, and then come back to it later and be able to write on that idea. So there's a lot of different methods of development, how you develop your writing, and different approaches are merited by different subjects' purposes, obviously. So we'll talk about many different methods, ways of going about things, and you might think about argument, persuasion, cause and effect, things like that. Some are easier to use depending on the way that you think. So for a lot of people, for example, cause and effect maybe is not as easy for writing as using description. Methods are, that being said, methods are also mixed, and often are also often mixed. And what really is important, it's about being systematic in your planning approach. So if one idea that I guess I would emphasize is that you want to have a plan and you want to have a system and you want to employ that system. Drafting is very important. So when you go to write a paper, if you wait to the last second, for example, it's not a good idea. So what you want to do is give yourself enough time to do it. You want to find a quiet place to work. You don't want to get too excited early on. So I see when people write in class, oftentimes, they get very frustrated after 5 minutes of trying to write. Well, that's not a lot. If you're writing a 3-page paper, 5 minutes, give it some time, see where it goes. I would say worry about revision after you have written something. I just read a book, or multiple books, by Stephen King, and that's what he does. So he just goes, he has ideas, he writes. He's a guy that's been an author for a long time, and then he goes back to it later and revises. Some people do it a little bit differently. They kind of revise as they go. Personally, I try to write a fair amount of words and then go look at it and see where I'm going. And once again, when you draft, you should always focus on your thesis and the purpose of your paper. So in other words, anything you write should connect to that thesis statement in your introductory paragraph. If it doesn't, you're going the wrong direction, right? Change your tack. Talk about the introduction. Remember the funnel. Talked about the funnel fairly often. The funnel is a good way to do an introduction. Start general, get specific, attempt to hook the reader. You want to set the tone in your language, and probably most importantly, you want to have your thesis statement that's obvious. Then we go to the body. This is where you organize your evidence for your thesis. You want to have internal consistency in your paragraphs. So if I had a thesis statement about owls and my first paragraph was owls are great hunters. Everything in that paragraph should be something about owls being great hunters. You want to use transition sentences between paragraphs. So a good way to think about writing, or an important way to think about writing, is that ideas need to be linked. So things don't stand on their own. So between paragraphs, you need linkage. You need those paragraphs to link back to your thesis statement. And then when you conclude, that should link back to everything that you've written. You want to use one thought or argument at a time in your paragraphs. A very common thing that I see, and a common error that students make, is they'll start a paragraph and the paragraph will be, like I said, about owls and their capacity for hunting. About halfway through, they'll talk about owls being a symbol for wisdom, and then maybe they'll talk about the fledgling habits of owls. The paragraph was supposed to be about owls' hunting habits. Everything should be about owls hunting. That's it. One thought at a time. Simpler is always the answer. You should have one idea. Generally speaking, if in doubt, use short sentences that are to the point, concise sentences, and then you want to have manageable paragraph lengths. I guess the overall or overarching statement I would say is, don't try to do too much. Just do one thing at a time, correctly, and then move on. As far as your conclusion goes, a lot of times you want to restate your thesis. You can end with a most important point. One thing you don't want to do in your conclusion, and another error that I see, is that people try to stuff more evidence into your final paragraph. Once you get to your conclusion, the time for arguing is done. It's just restating what you said. Now, if you can end dramatically or something like that, that's great. But if not, and like I say, most emails at work don't need a cliffhanger. So as far as your paper goes, just wrap it up. You can point back to the evidence within your paper. Good conclusion, straightforward, done. Don't try to do more with it than it's meant to be. I guess the last thing that I'll talk about is revision. So you do want to ask questions in your paper as you reread. Is your purpose clear to the reader? If you look, what is my thesis statement? Is it obvious? Does everything follow that thesis statement? You might want to think about what your reader's expectations are for the kind of writing. This is particularly true like in technical writing, writing in business. What do they expect from you? Once again, what is my thesis? Can't emphasize that enough. It should be obvious. Does my paper flow? Is there logic to my argument? Are there transitions between my paragraphs? Is each paragraph clear? Is the paragraph only about one thing? If you revise and you look at these questions and these questions are answered, that means that you have a good paper.